So are you thinking of switching from CrossFit to weightlifting? And I want to talk about how that can be rewarding but kind of like a challenging shift. I'm here to help you navigate it like a pro, because it is something that I think about a lot. Like, obviously coming from weightlifting to CrossFit, there was a lot of switching that I had to do that way. And I'm thinking, if I wanted to go back the other way, what would I need to consider? Like, what are the most important things that I would have to do to be able to successfully go from CrossFit to weightlifting? So in today's video, we'll cover the key differences between CrossFit and weightlifting, how to adjust your training approach, common challenges that you might find, and ways that CrossFit skills can actually give you a head start in weightlifting, and how CrossFit will probably help you go quite far in weightlifting. So here are the 6 most important things to consider before you switch from CrossFit to weightlifting. So number 1, the key differences between CrossFit and weightlifting. So CrossFit combines strength, endurance, functional fitness, whereas weightlifting centers only on 2 technical lifts, so the snatch and the clean and jerk. Some people would argue that there's more than that, but when it comes down to it, like if you want to compete in weightlifting, the snatch and the clean and jerk are pretty much the only things, they are the only things that matter and the only things that will mean anything if you ever were to compete. So whilst weightlifting is just literally 2 movements, CrossFit involves an absolutely endless amount of variety, whether that's in WODs or whether that's in skills. Whilst like I said, weightlifting only prioritizes repetitive, focused practice on specific movements, and there is little variation from snatch and clean and jerk. And what you'll find that you'll probably be looking at snatch, clean and jerk, squats and pulls as your bulk of the session every single day, 5 days a week. Sounds boring, but honestly, it is. There's something so therapeutic and beautiful about it. And then the other difference is that whilst CrossFit aims for overall fitness and like your functional performance, so how well you can pair your fitness levels with your strength levels, with your technical skills, weightlifting only emphasizes maximum strength, precision and technique in the lifts. That is literally the only thing that you need to focus on when you're doing weightlifting, is to be as strong as possible, as precise as possible, and as technically efficient as possible in both the snatch and the clean and jerk. So now that you know the key differences, I think the most important thing to know is the transition that your mindset is going to have to take in order to go from CrossFit to weightlifting. So basically, to be sure that you know exactly what you're going in for, it's important to think about what the training involves from that mindset point of view, like how your mindset would have to switch from the CrossFit mindset to a weightlifting mindset. So obviously, as I said, CrossFit thrives on variety, whilst weightlifting requires that dedication to honing in on fewer technical skills. And for some, that can seem very repetitive and can seem very boring. As I said earlier, like there is something for me, which I found in weightlifting to be completely addictive, in that you like obsess about your technical ability, you obsess about your strength, you obsess about all of that stuff, and then it becomes like this all-encompassing beautiful thing where you're just like constantly looking to improve your lifts and constantly looking to get stronger. So in that sense, weightlifting involves like a requirement of a lot of patience and dedication to over time improve your technique and strength. Like, you'll find that in weightlifting the improvements are minor over a short period of time, but if done consistently can add up to a really big difference. So whilst in CrossFit you'll find that over short amount of time you'll make like big improvements, and you'll be able to go from like 10 double unders to 100 double unders in like 3 weeks. Weightlifting isn't going to be like that. Weightlifting is going to be a kilo, 2 kilos, 3 kilos. Sometimes you'll get 5 kilos and you'll go back down, then you'll go back up, and it's a lot less linear. So as an example, like you may do a block where you focus solely on like your snatch turnover. So that could be like a 6-week weightlifting block. During those 6 weeks, you may not notice a big difference. But after those 6 weeks, when you go back to lifting like from the floor, a snatch off the floor, you'll find that you've significantly improved your ability to switch on after the hips, thanks to that snatch turnover block. So you'll do that whole 6 weeks, and it's really only after that 6 weeks when you go back to weightlifting that you'll find that the improvements have been made. So it can seem quite long and like arduous, but you have to be really patient and know that what you're doing is working, and you have to have like a lot of belief in yourself as well as the programming that you're doing. So all of that obviously requires a shift of mindset from this, I just need to complete this workout, or I just need to pull X amount on the rower, or I just need to be fast on that set of burpees, to becoming solely focused on technical improvements and adding kilos onto the bar, to becoming obsessed about, oh, that snatch was a bit forward, like how can I fix that? Or, oh, I came on my toes a little bit. How can I fix that? And analyzing every single lift to make sure that you are becoming better at that technical lift. So it's very different mindset in that, like, it's less grindy, like, I have to just get through it, I'm going to smash through it, I'm going to, like, no matter what happens, I'll just finish this workout, to I have to hone in on my skills. I have to become more technically efficient, because otherwise you won't make progress in weightlifting. Now, I've kind of made it seem like CrossFit and weightlifting are like polar opposites. I think it's important to say that the CrossFit mindset of being like able to kind of stick through something when it's really hard and like continue, that obviously will transfer over to weightlifting and will provide you with benefits. Like, CrossFit do have a lot of benefits. It's not all bad. Another benefit that CrossFit would have provided you is that you should already have a pretty good strength base and a good mobility base, depending on how seriously you took CrossFit. So, like, can you sit in an overhead squat, or can you do a full clean? Now, most CrossFitters are able to do that. Obviously, it depends on where you are on your level and whether that will apply to you. Something else is that most CrossFitters do usually have great deadlift and overhead strength, which can mean that some, with like just a few technical changes, your PRs should come in thick and fast. Like, you should be able to go from doing like quite low numbers to quite high numbers quite quickly once you master the technique, and once you have more of an understanding of how weightlifting works. However, you will need to say goodbye to some of your nasty CrossFit habits, such as like rushing lifts or pressing out like snatches or jerks, or like getting absolutely buried by cleans. Like, weightlifting becomes a lot more technical based, as I've said before, and you need to be solely focusing on technical adjustments and cues to make sure that you get the most out of yourself in weightlifting. Now, the next thing that I think that you should seriously consider is, obviously there will be need to have been a very important adjustment in your program. Now, in my opinion, if you're going to do it right, I would suggest getting a weightlifting coach with experience coaching newer weightlifting athletes. However, if you don't really know what that is, or you don't really know what a program should look like, this is what it should look like, right? So a lower overall workout volume, but increased frequency in the lift. So you basically go from doing 1 to 2 weightlifting sessions a week to 4 to 5 sessions a week. You focus purely on the main lifts, snatch, clean and jerk, and obviously have squats and pulls in there to increase strengths. You'll find that the sessions aren't actually much shorter, as you'll need more rest time between attempts to ensure that you're adequately rested, as well as there will be a lot more working sets to drill in new technique, and you will often start with mobility work or primers, like technical primers at the beginning, which will mean that your sessions are probably the same as a CrossFit session, like between an hour and a half to 2 hours. What you'll also find is that mobility work will become part and parcel of your daily workout. Usually, like, I would say that mobility works like bookend the session. So you start with it as a warm-up, then you end with it as a cool down. As an example, a lot of people, for warming up the snatch, will do things like snatch balance, drop snatch, stuff like that. And then at the end of the session, you'll have stuff like snatch toss press, any kind of like strength in the whole, like overhead squats, stuff like that. So it will bookend your session, so you'll find that your mobility will should normally get a lot better. That's how I got a lot better at like getting into a squat. I never was able to get into a squat before I started weightlifting. Then all the mobility work that you do through the sessions usually helps. And then obviously at the end of the session, you also have accessory work, which will become more important to ensure you build muscles to protect all your joints and bits like that. So like split squats, strict press, push press, things to make sure that your body is staying healthy and happy whilst you are drilling it into the ground with weightlifting, strength, movement, and weightlifting in general, because it is a bit of a battering sport. Now, number 5, I think the most important thing to consider is overcoming the common challenges that you will find from going from CrossFit to weightlifting. So for me, the biggest thing that I've kind of noticed when doing CrossFit as opposed to weightlifting is that you will have to learn to adapt to slower progress. Like, weightlifting requires a lot more time and dedication to get the movement right. And if there are some key flaws in your technique, you'll find that the process of getting to a new PR or the process of getting to a new PB is a lot slower than you'd probably hope. Honestly, you will get frustrated. Like, changing technical things about your lift is a long process, which can be confusing frustrating, and honestly, I'd just say it like damn annoying, but it is so worth it when you finally have that click moment where like you're finally like, oh my God, is that what it's supposed to actually feel like? I think I've had a few of those moments in CrossFit, like learning how to do like double unders or toes to bar or ring muscle ups or muscle ups. I have those moments where I'm like, oh my God, is that what it's supposed to feel like? And they feel like in CrossFit, they come in thick and fast because you have so many skills that you have to learn. Whereas in weightlifting, because it's literally snatch, clean, jerk, like there's less time where you're going to have those like woo moment. I finally figured it out. But when you do get it, it's so worth it. My top tip for that would be to work with a coach who can help you address your technical issues. Because for me, when I made my most amount of progress in weightlifting was when I had a coach who helped me understand what I was doing wrong and how to fix it. I think also a key important thing is to make sure that you record yourself and try to understand where you're going wrong. Like if you understand the movement basis, or you understand how it should look, or how the movement should be executed, it will make it so much easier for you to then get better. I think when I started to get really good, it's because I was absorbing like a lot of weightlifting content, like watching the Chinese do weightlifting, watching all of the like different people do weightlifting, especially in America, and listening to what people have to say about technical drills and stuff like that. Obviously, some of it may be confusing and some of it may not make any sense, but like I found little golden nuggets in there that help you learn. Now I'd say the final challenge is that weightlifting genuinely might not be for you. Like coming from CrossFit where no day is ever the same, it may be a difficult shift to like go from having so much variation to having no variation. But if that is something that you struggle with, I found that exercises like muscle snatch, hang cleans, dip cleans, pause jerks, any kind of variation will give you enough to kind of like keep your mind like thinking about things and keep you happy. That's what I found was key. So just bear that in mind, like the variation is a lot less. So if you're not someone who likes to get like obsessive over something, weightlifting might not be right for you. And the truth be told, you'll never know if you don't try. Like if you don't try weightlifting full time, then you'll never know whether it is something that you like. But if you are someone who loves feeling strong, or as I said, like you're a bit of a nerd and love correcting things and ironing out issues and finding ways to be better, then I'd say weightlifting is 100% for you. Like I never realized how much I loved it until I obviously did it. And to be honest, if you still want to do cardio, you can obviously incorporate both and do whatever makes you happy. Like I think people think that if you do weightlifting, you can only do weightlifting, you can't do anything else. But it's important to know that if you do find that you miss doing other things, but you love weightlifting, just do the other things. It's not going to be the end of the world. So switching from CrossFit to weightlifting is a massive change, but it can unlock some fun strength gains and adds more tokens to your athlete pack. My advice to anyone would be to give it a go for at least 6 months, because you won't lose anything. Like CrossFit these days is so heavily reliant on weightlifting that if you choose to go back to CrossFit after you've done like a 6-month block of weightlifting, you'll find that it might have actually helped you. So just bear that in mind. Now, just a question. What would you say your biggest struggle or question is about weightlifting? Drop it in the comments below, because I'd love to hear your story if you have made the transition or if you're thinking about it, and if you have any tips and tricks to share. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it answered any of your questions. If you have any more, don't forget to pop them in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video as well as subscribe and hit the bell for more fitness, weightlifting tips and updates from me. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye.